Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Next Big Pod. I'm joined by Sam, Alex, and Andy. Brian will be on shortly, and we're very fortunate to be joined as well by the former WBO super featherweight champion of the world, Barry Jones. Barry, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's been a long time coming, apparently.
Well, it has. We thought Brian was a bit
But sorry,
full of shit, to be honest. He was.
But to be fair, that long time coming, I hear that all the time.
Start as we mean to go on. We thought Brian kept promising that he'd get you on, but we thought he was full of it. But he's delivered, as he always does in the end.
I do anything for Brian, except where is he?
Exactly, he's disappeared at the worst possible moment. But yeah, no, thank you very much for making the time. And we thought we'd ask you a few questions about your career and stuff, but then also really wanted to sort of touch on some of the more contemporary issues in sport, and and maybe do a bit of a preview if we've got time of the weekend, because there's actually a few fights on for the first time in ages. So I don't know, Barry, sorry, it's a bit of a cliche, but I thought we could start off with, if you just want to talk briefly about how you got into the sport and sort of what made you pick up the gloves in the first place.
Yeah, I was bullied a lot as a kid. No, I'm only joking. I was never bullied.
None of us can relate to that. Alpha males.
I was the bully. I used to bully a lot of kids, and I thought, oh, can I bully these kids even more? And I thought, I followed my brother. Like, I had an older brother who was a brilliant boxer, more skillful boxer than I could ever hope to be. Really was, but he's just a lunatic. But I followed him down the gym, and it wasn't my favourite sport. Even then, I was into other sports, but then I lost my first fight at 10 years of age, and then I cried, and I didn't enjoy that, but I got a trophy. And where in other sports, to be honest, this is truthful, in other sports, you've got to play a whole season of rugby or football or basketball, which was my favourite sport at the time. No laughing, because I know I'm short. But and then I thought I'll have some more of this, and then I got the taste of it within 3 fights, and I won the rest of the fights, and I got the taste of it, and I stuck with it. And it's very addictive. Is anyone who like you guys who I don't know whether any of you ever boxed before or not, or trained on a gym, I don't know, but just watching boxing can be very addictive. The whole, not just the fights, but the whole business of the sport, or even all the shit that happens, all the real bad things that we hate. It's very addictive to find. It's like a soap opera, isn't it? Boxing, behind the scenes, and obviously when you see a great fight, that's enough to get you hooked on the sport in general. You watch one great fight in your life, especially live, and that's it. Then nothing compares to it. And actually being involved, I've never been involved in a great fight. But I won that.
You have.
I haven't been involved in great fights. No chance. I was too much of a shithouse.
The draw with David Morris.
That wasn't a draw. That was disgusting. Listen, I know David, you love me. I pissed that. And I tell you, and I'm honest about my career. I'm honest to a fault. And you ask me any question here, and it's no good for my image. But I will be honest. I'm honest about me being a world champion, and we'll touch on that, I suppose, in a minute. But that fight, I boxed. That was one of the few because I couldn't punch. I didn't enjoy a lot of my fights because I was still in the moment, because I couldn't really enjoy it. I wasn't banging people out. I had to win everything on points. So that was one of my few fights that I enjoyed. And I just have to say, the referee went and got his cataracts 2 months later. I'm not saying that was what it was, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I pissed that fight.
Did the referee score?
Yeah, it was back in the old days. The referee scored the fight, half a point, I think it was then. Although we might move to the full point system back then. But yeah, it was. I pissed that fight. He ended up being my sparring partner, David. And he's a lovely fella, and I'm sort of glad he got the draw, because he can go back now and say, oh, not so much now, but when I won the world title, and say, yeah, I drew with Barry, and I only drew with him because who he was. I wasn't who I was back then, so but it makes his career look a little bit better. So I don't begrudge him, but some of these decisions that referees and judges make, and it's a hard job. I don't criticise them too much, but it does affect your career. Like, I got a blemish on my record, which shouldn't be.
Yeah, it sets you back, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I can't complain about the Freitas loss, because I got all the excuse in the world for that. The fact is, he kept hitting me and I kept falling over. What do you got to say about that? I mean, new boots, I don't know.
Yeah, I think plenty of people fell over when he hit them, didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was knocking people out last year, wasn't he? So
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
he's
still
lunatic,
knocking him out at 45 or however old he is now. But
yeah, he's younger than me, so watch your mouth.
Barry, can I just ask quickly? You mentioned earlier about great fights. Was there a great fight when you were sort of growing into the sport when you were a bit younger that really hooked you in?
It wasn't a great fight, but it's my favourite fight because just it reminds me of being young, and it was Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard. So I was already boxing by then. Obviously, I was already a champion by then, to be honest. But that for me, I put my tape recorder next to the speakers on the telephone. Put the video. I had a video of the super fight, it was called, and all the build up to it, all the music to the build up. So I had to put my tape recorder, press play and record on the tape recorder, the two big buttons on top, and put it next to the TV speakers to record the music, which I would then put on my headphones in my Walkman and listen before a fight. So I wanted to be Sugar Ray Leonard.
You were a Leonard fan then, were you?
Oh man, I loved him.
Because he seems to get universal hate from all of us lot.
Well, you can all go fuck.
Well, not all of us. Not all of us.
Most of us dislike him.
Though, isn't he, Leonard? I think.
What's that? For me, I think he was a complete fighter. For me, because it was my age group, I was a kid when he was winning, and he was just everything you wanted to be. No, I suppose no. If I was boxing, if I was a bit older, maybe Hagler would have been, or I think Duran would have been my favourite fighter because you appreciate more of the toughness, and he had skills which was more subtle than Leonard. But because you were young, it's all the flash. That's why Mayweather, all the young kids like Mayweather because he's flash, and he's flash outside the ring and he's clever and stuff like that. Where some older fans sort of say he can pull the trigger a bit quicker. So we prefer maybe a Golovkin rather than a Mayweather. But for me, Leonard was brilliant, and I think he was a guy who knew how to get it right. He knew when to pull the trigger, he knew when to dance, he knew when to showboat, and he had pretty much all of it. But that was the fight for me. I used to watch. I've seen that fight a million times. It gets closer every time I watch it, so I stopped watching it.
Going back to your career quickly, didn't you go from 6 rounders up to 12? Why was there no sort of in between with you then? It just went from 6 to title fights.
It wasn't so much that. I think I had a decent apprenticeship. I guess he wasn't a great fighter, but my first fight the kid was undefeated. I boxed a few journeymen, and then I think my third fight I boxed a fella called Michael Devaney who ended up winning the British title, and he was a former Olympian. So I had a hard fight. And then obviously I boxed Neil Swain in my 6th fight, I think it was, and even my 4th fight the kid only lost 1 fight. And so I had a good apprenticeship. So by the time I got to 10, 11 fights, I think, I don't know, off the top of my head, I must have boxed 4 or 5 undefeated kids. And so it stands you in good stead because they're all hard fights. But also it stunts your development because rather than practice things you do in the gym, you just try and win. So it can be a double-edged sword. So when I've had gut checks. So to go up in levels wasn't that difficult. I took a 10 round at a day's notice against an undefeated kid, and that's where I got my cauliflower ear. So I sort of took a bit of time off after that because I was a little bit that was an eliminator for a British title, which because it didn't have official eliminator status, I didn't get the British title shot. So I got a little bit disillusioned there, and I had a couple more fights, and then I packed in for about 12 months and went to live in Dublin, and I was working in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre, if anyone's ever been to Dublin, just out the outskirts of Dublin, and I was never going to box again. I was taking home £1,000 a week back in 95, 96. I was only young. I was earning a fortune. I thought it was just phenomenal money, and I never earned 1,000. I think I earned 2.5, maybe, or did I get 3.5? That was my biggest earning, my biggest purse at that time. I had no money from boxing. My first fight as a pro was £300 cash.
And then you've got guys like Leonard turning over for £1 million on their debut, haven't you? It's crazy.
No,
Same sport. Yeah.
But I gotta be honest. So I was never in boxing for the money, because if I was, I wouldn't have ever turned pro. Because people think because I had a baby quite young and I turned pro for the money. I had no idea of turning pro. But just my first pro trainer just said, "Do you want to turn pro?" And I went, "Okay." I wish I would have waited now. I wish I would have waited to the Commonwealth Games in '94, but I turned pro, and I sort of regretted it a little bit because I should have stayed amateur a little bit longer. Because I turned pro at 18.
You were 18, Barry, weren't you?
Yeah, 18. Yeah. I was a bit too young. I had 1 year as a senior. I won the Welsh. I won a silver in the European Championships, and then I got beat in the semi-finals. All that was in 13 days. So I was in 2 tournaments in 13 days. It was unbelievable. It was. I went to the. I had a crazy about 3 weeks. I boxed in the semi-final of the Welsh Senior Championships against a kid who got to the final the year before, beat him quite easily. Then I boxed a kid called Russell Rees, who was a good pro but a really good amateur. I boxed him for the box off for the Welsh place to go to the European Juniors in Edinburgh, and I beat him. And then a week later, I boxed Paul Samuels, who, I don't know if you remember Paul Samuels. He was a pretty good middleweight boxer back in the 90s. But he was a featherweight then, and he was really good as an amateur. And I boxed him in the Welsh final. 2 days later, I'm up in Edinburgh boxing the European Championships. Got to the final of that on the Saturday, and then on the Monday, I'm boxing the semis of the ABAs and the British ABAs. It was just a crazy 2.5 years.
So it was really, it was sort of a hobby that you really enjoyed, and then someone suggested, you could actually make, you could make this into a career.
Oh, I sort of guessed I was always going to turn pro somewhere down the line, but I love boxing. Is my first love, like most people who do it. I loved it. I just loved the competing. I loved winning. Winning's addictive, and I was pretty good at it. I could punch as well as an amateur, believe it or not. Oh yeah, crazy, isn't it? I was wicked. I can punch now. I'm not trying to sound myself. I don't give a shit now, but I can punch now. You wouldn't believe it. I just literally couldn't punch from when I turned pro to when I finished pro. But yeah, I was a decent body puncher as an amateur, but my pro trainer wanted me to box like Muhammad Ali. But then
you punched pretty well in the Freitas fights for like 10 seconds.
Do you know what? You know it's a hard night when you knock someone down in the first round and you still lose that round by 2 points.
He got rid of the gum shield. He should have had a point off for spitting the gum shield out, because that was totally deliberate.
I thought, yeah, do you know what? Some of my mates were going, if it wasn't for that, you would have knocked him out. And I think, Barry, I'd done it. Yeah.
See, going back to, did you enjoy training? What was your normal training regime? How long would you do a camp for and stuff like that? How long would you spar for? Did you enjoy that? Just get your thoughts on that.
I wasn't a modern trainer, but I was a hyperactive kid, and I'm a hyperactive man, so I just trained all the time. I would literally go to when I was an amateur, I'd go to training, and then I'd go straight from training to the sports centre to do circuit training. I put a black bag on and a sweatsuit. Well, it wasn't a sweatsuit, it was a waterproof stuff you wear outside when you were working. And I put that on, and I'd do circuit training for an hour straight after. I was one of those, just a hyperactive lunatic. So I loved training. But as a professional, it sort of went funny, because my first 3 years as a pro, I never had a gym to train in. So but the only time I get in a boxing ring, for most, not all the fights, but I think for 90% of my fights in the first 3 years, was on fight night. So I used to, I know jumpers for goalposts. We used to do that in a creche in Channelview Leisure Centre down Grangetown in Cardiff. We used to put jumpers as goalposts, and that's how I used to spar. I used to spar with my trainer Pat Thomas, who was a former British champion at welterweight and middleweight. And I never trained in the gym. And squash courts and creches was my gym.
Did you ever go abroad for sparring or anything like that?
No, we never done it. No, never. I never done any of that. I'd spar with Barry Thorogood, some punchy middleweight, and then and my trainer, and then I go to Swansea every now and again, spar with a 4-year-old Enzo McAnally, who was only about 5'11" then, and Barry and Craig Kelly, and that was it. And sometimes I'd go to my old amateur club in Splot, and I'd spar a couple of kids there. But no, my first 3 years as a professional, how I prepared for fights was just disgusting. It really was. It was pretty much just get in the ring, and I was naturally fit, but just get in the ring and see what you can do.
Yeah, Barry, on that topic, I can remember an interview with you. I can't remember if it was in a magazine or on Boxnation a few years ago, where you talked about how you basically only train for stamina. And most of your training was running and sort of cardio work.
Yeah.
And you didn't really do much strength training. Do you think that affected your power?
Oh, most definitely. Well, and also, no one told me to sit down on my punching. No, I was with the exuberance of youth. Because I had fast hands and I had fast legs, and I had a pretty good boxing brain, so I was decent. But no So people just go, yeah, do that. You're fast. Yeah, keep boxing. But no one ever said sit down on your punches. And I did no strength work, you know, and then nothing at all. There was nothing. But back then there was nothing like that. I don't. I just, as far as I was concerned, that's where everyone trained. I didn't know any different, you know. It was just all fit, fast, everything fast, and you know, and that was it. And that's all we knew. So, and I think Joe Calzaghe was the same. You know, I just think all the great fighters didn't train right. That's what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying I'm a great fighter, but I'm not saying I'm not a great fighter.
I think it's one of the things.
I'm obviously taking the piss. I know that. But yeah, I just think back in the day there, it was just people just trained how they trained as an amateur, but maybe 20 minutes longer. You know, I never trained in the morning. I just trained in the afternoon. I'd run in the morning before work. And by the way, I worked right up until I won the world title. And the worst thing I did was give up work when I won the world title. It's the fucking stupidest thing I ever did. Give up work.
Well, you think sort of the discipline of having to hold a job down while you were training would helped you? Well,
not so much. The money for a start. You know, you just spend your money you earn then, don't you? But it was just you're going to structure your life. I think that's why a lot of boxers struggle when they retire, because the only thing they've had structures to their life is boxing. Because most boxers now don't work from when they turn professional, so all they know is train for a fight. Tick over, blow out, have a few months blowing out, and then train hard again. But then once your career's over, you have no structure, so you just do what you want. But you can't do what you want if you're skint. Then you've got to get a job. Well, you know, I just been a world champion. I'm not going to get a job, which is a perfectly fine job, but I'm not going to get a job pushing trolleys in fucking Asda if I just been a world champion. Can then someone goes, "Oh, Barry, what's happening? What are you doing?" Oh, nothing. I'm no, my missus. Yeah, my missus said get a trolley. She's in there shopping. You know, what are you wearing a fucking high vis for then? Oh, what are you wearing a badge saying my name's Barry? How can I help? You know, it's nothing wrong with those jobs, but you know, when you've been a world champion, your ego and your pride tells you no. So that's why a lot of boxers suffer after boxing, because of things like that, because you lose that structure of boxing. And I think for me, work gave me a good structure to my life. You know, because once I won the world title, then you know I was obviously being a good-looking guy. I was
talking the town.
Speaking, yeah, you know, I don't want to be rude, but I was shagging lots of models, and you know, when I say models, they were blow-up dolls, but you know, they were
models are women.
Well, yeah, models. Yeah, well, they tasted like plastic. I can't tell.
What happened with your career then? Because you retired relatively early, didn't you?
Yeah, well, obviously, when I won the world title, I had a problem with my brain scan, which held me back, and then we found out it wasn't really a problem, it was just a change, and then I had to fight for my license back. And the boxing world, to be honest, didn't do me a good turn. Let's be fair, I was a bit of a scapegoat, because I was a world champion who had no financial value for the sport, and I was a good guy. I was a good way to say to the pressure they had off the British Medical Association and other people, with Michael Watson and then Spencer Oliver collapsing as well around at the same time. I was a perfect example to say, listen, we even stop our world champions from boxing if they're not safe. But I wasn't Calzaghe or Ben or fucking Nazim Hamid. I wasn't any of those big fighters. I was an unknown guy who was lucky to win a world title. So I think I was a bit of a scapegoat, and I proved that there was no real medical evidence to stop me. Got my license back, but it took a long time, and I fell out of love with the sport by then. So all I kept thinking was those defences I would have had in those 2 years that I was actually 18 months I was out, but I would have had 4 fights in 18 months back then as being a world champion.
Do you think they took a bit of your prime away then?
Well, they took they didn't my prime. I never hit my prime until I retired, to be honest, physically, to be fair. But they took away my earning potential. You know, I've cashed in. I've won a world title. I just want to cash in, and I had a really good contract with Frank. I had 5 fights, and I was getting £600,000, which might not seem a lot to you guys. I mean, no. I mean, you take it seriously. I mean, as boxers go, but for someone like me, and even nowadays that'd be big money. But for someone like me, if I get in £600,000 in 5 fights, then you know I never boxing again. I don't give a shit, because back.
I'd fucking die if I had £600,000. I'd fucking die in 2 weeks.
No, but it's big money for the guy, and also, like, thanks to my father, we had some little things in the contract, because my father was absolutely a diamond, and he had Nazim Hamid and Steve Robinson, and then a unification match, if it would arise, to be renegotiated. So, you know, if I was boxing Naz, which was, I wasn't on his radar, but it was a possibility because he was featherweight champion, I was super featherweight champion, but I was only a featherweight, and I was an easy win, let's be honest, I was an easy win for Naz, an easy way for Naz to be a 2-weight world champion without having to take any risks. And I would have took that fight and got £250,000, you know, back in 97 and 98, and lost and still got credit for losing. You know, I would have went in there trying to win, and I would have thought, and like any boxer, like every fight, I would have thought I could win. But in reality, looking back now, he would have smashed me to pieces, wouldn't he? Let's be real, you know.
Well, fights like that are like win-win, like Barrera Ward on the weekend. If Barrera does anything,
Yeah.
then get a Ward,
like
the credit.
Like George Jupp the other week. I don't know if you've seen it. George Jupp boxing.
Yeah.
He went up to Mexico boxing some guy who might be a good fighter. He looks a good fighter, but he might be world champion. Who knows? He boxed him with an interim title, but it was a no-lose situation. He's going out of his comfort zone, you know, and he just put up a good display, and he did.
Barry, George Jupp took it on 2 weeks, didn't he, as well? A bit like you with the
8 days.
8 days, yeah.
Believable, isn't it? And also with that altitude as well, you know, it's a big, and to travel, it's a big ask.
Yeah, and he knew he'd have to probably knock the other guy out to get the win, right? Going to Mexico, yeah. And
when you're not a knockout artist, which he's not, you know, you just think, listen, this is a chance to be an interim world champion, and if Roman Martinez doesn't fight again, you're automatically a world champion then.
Yeah, I think, and also with it, obviously the fight didn't happen, but Dickens against Rigondeaux, it was really win-win for him.
It was.
So much respect for fighting him in the first place.
I told him, I said, listen, I would turn off Twitter, your TV, don't read the paper until the fight happens, because all you're going to hear from everyone, and everyone who has a vaguely, you know, normal opinion of boxing, reasonable opinion of boxing, is that you're going to get beat, and you're going to get beat quite easily, which is what would have happened. But he puts about a half-decent display, and you're right, he doesn't lose, because he's boxing one of the best fighters on the planet. No, and for skill, maybe the best fighter on the planet.
Yeah, and similar with Barrera against Ward this weekend as well. Barrera can't really lose because he's fighting one of the best guys in the world.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's boxing one of the pound for pound best, isn't he? So he doesn't. You know, it's a no lose situation for him. For Ward, it's a dangerous fight because it's the unknown where he's out. You know, he hasn't had a real competitive. No, listen, the Paul Smith fight was a good workout for him. But it wasn't really. I was there on the night, so it wasn't massively competitive for him because, you know, he was 2 levels higher. There's no slight on Paul. It's just you find that it just was a great fighter, you know. So I can't remember the last competitive fight that he had. To be honest, I genuinely can't because the guy before that, Rodriguez, wasn't really that competitive. Froch wasn't really competitive, and that's his 3 fights since 2011.
Well, he hasn't been hurt since Darnell Boone, and that was 10 years ago. He hasn't even been wobbled since then. Yeah. Brian, you look miserable. You're not a Ward fan.
I'm a fan of empty that absolutely fucking smashes Froch for about 10 rounds out of 12. but everybody knows I'm a fan of boxers, but I find it hard to watch Ward because I find
dirty, isn't he?
People listening to what I say know that I can't stand dirty fighters, and I've got a right fucking bugbear with Salido because and I find Ward. I find Ward does stuff in the ring that he doesn't need to because he's that talented. He doesn't need to do it. Like he could make fights a hell of a lot easier for himself, but he doesn't. He's constantly grabbing. I mean, that's what I liked about the Froch fight. He doesn't grab.
Floyd, mate. You love Floyd. He's
touche.
But Floyd doesn't grapple the way Ward does. Floyd will maybe use a cheeky elbow and that, right? And fair enough. But Ward is the worst in boxing for holding when he doesn't need. He's a right good inside fighter. And see against Froch, he pushed Froch back and he basically bullied him for the 9 rounds. And he tired, obviously, with the amount of work that he was putting in.
And he was one-armed in that fight as well.
Aye, the one-armed. So I like that, but see when you watch like Kessler and other fights like that, it's hard watching. But
he went in with the head, didn't he? It was nasty. Yeah.
But see when he just kind of lets his hands go and he wants to move and box, and mate, his inside game is quite underrated. But I sometimes find it hard to watch him, and that's the same with Rigo. Like, that last fight, I tried to defend it, obviously because I was just trying to be a bit of a hipster fanboy, trying to defend Rigo, but it was fucking awful.
Oh, he let himself, that last fight we had on Boxnation, he let himself down. Tell it because I was bigging him up. Oh, he's a genius, and the little like a lot like Andre Ward, the little intricate movements. It's just the little centimeters they move their feet to get in positions. It's absolutely superb.
See,
he let himself down that last fight, really did.
Like somebody asked me like, why do I actually like Floyd Mayweather, and I had to just kind of break it. I tried to break it down as simply as I could possibly do it, and like. It's not so much the power. I know people kind of fall in love with power, but it's the fact that he can be in a position and make somebody miss with millimeters. I was like, and that's a skill in itself. See the way, like, see if you watch like the vines of like Marquez and Canelo and that, the way he's standing right in front of them and he just moves backwards a couple of millimeters, and literally the glove is just fucking missing him, and I like that. I like it, I love it, I'm down with shit like that. And people just don't like it. People just want to sit and watch Gatti Ward. I can't watch that. I can't watch two people just sit there fucking trading and it's just like a bar brawl that I don't know, but was it on Boxnation that? No, what was it?
You mean Kono, didn't you?
What was the two Japanese fighters?
That was Sky. That was on the Jamie McDonald card.
Fucking Sky. I gotta go now. I gotta go. If you're talking about Sky, I gotta go.
Didn't they offer you a job? Or I seen something they offered you a job or something like that.
What's that?
Is that the way it's done?
Barry, you fought on Sky back in the day.
He fought Freitas on Sky.
I love Sky. It's lovely. What a lovely place to go. Listen, Sky. Listen, Sky say boxing. People forget. I know. Like you hardcore guys give a mistake and stuff about what they can say, what they can't say, and I can't comment about what other people do my job say because I'm not. No, I've been doing my job for 2 minutes in reality, so I got no.
Oh, Barry James is fucked off.
Fuck's sake.
Sky have chucked him off.
I have cut him off, yeah.
Hopefully we get him back on. Make sure he's got the link, Brian.
That's because he keeps doing that to me. He keeps throwing me off as well.
No, see what I was like trying to say there. Like, I can't even. I think it was like on that Saturday Night Boxing that I was trying to explain why, and I did make out. I was like, I like fucking watching people like stand in a sort of position where he makes people miss and makes them really look fucking stupid. I don't need to see somebody throwing like. I don't need to see like a Leo Santa Cruz where you're throwing about 40 fucking thousand punches and about 20 are landing, but you're like the Matrix and you think everyone looks good, but you're fucking thrown on. See Floyd. Floyd's got a better connection rate than fucking most other boxers. He doesn't throw a lot, but he makes sure he doesn't fucking waste any either, and I like that.
Ward does that as well, though.
Yeah, he does, but Ward fucking makes it a lot harder for himself because he's constantly dirty. He doesn't need to hold as much as he does. I hate fighters that fucking constantly hold, and that is what he's terrible.
Turn it on its head a bit. Look at the connection rates of Kovalev and Golovkin. They're
exactly,
but they're not regarded as like pure boxers.
That's snobbery.
And Floyd and Rigo. I mean, Rigo's his last fight wasn't a very good connection rate because it was fucking awful. But you know, most of their fights, what they've all got in common is supreme accuracy. They don't waste anything.
See the
HBO fights where he got like 60% connect. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Rico's the sort of fighter though that you need to be a good matchmaker. Like, I know he's not here anymore, but fucking power. Sorry.
You right, Barry? You right back on?
Oh yeah. So do you know what? I was having a right good rant and no one was fucking listening.
We'll pick up on
Sky and then you just cleared immediately. Yeah. We were worried.
We said Sky Adam Smith chucked you off the call. We've got him in the background.
See when I was away, Barry, did they kind of cover how you get into boxing? Did they start from the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
we haven't done Freitas though yet, Brian. We were saving it.
I just wanted to know if you were breastfed or bottle fed when you were a boy.
What's that? It was weird because I wasn't. I don't know what it was. I wasn't breastfed, but I wasn't bottle fed.
I was bottle fed. I feel as if that's how I've got some sort of fucking bit of an issue with women because like my mum didn't show me that sort of love. She didn't put me on the tick.
But I wasn't breastfed. I wasn't bottle fed. My dad fed me, and so I don't know what he used, but
did he use
very sour milk.
Did he use? Fucking Fred West, hello.
Oh, you know what they say in Wales, don't you?
No, I don't really want to know.
No one marries a virgin in Wales. Because if she's not good enough for her own father.
I remember like, when the Valleys was on and I asked you about that, you tell me to fuck off. It's like fucking Geordie Shore, and you tell me to fuck off. They were all minging bastards up that way. Where was it? Was it Cardiff?
I said, well, the Valley Commandos.
Aye.
You gotta watch them, though. People get confused. See, people like Nathan Cleverley. I love Nathan. He's not from Cardiff. Joe Calzaghe's not from Cardiff. They are literally country bumpkins. They are literally. They live in. I love them.
I thought Calzaghe was Newport. No?
He's fucking Newbridge or something like that. They live in streets. They live in streets. When they come to Cardiff, it's like Las Vegas to them, to those kids. Not now, obviously. No, they've moved on a little bit. But it's like Vegas for them. It's like all the lights and all that, and women with deodorant on. Oh, it's crazy.
Like Brian when he comes down to England for shows. Yeah, same deal.
I fucking hate England, man.
Hang on a minute, Mr. Racist. What part of England?
Where'd you go? You go Liverpool, Manchester, don't you, when you come down?
I wouldn't go to South. The South can go fuck itself. See if they could build a wall round London and make sure that they can go off on their own. I'd be quite happy with that.
Well, why would you want to keep all those immigrants in one place? That's terrible. This is getting very politically incorrect, this show.
It's the standard for us.
It's fine when you were talking about sucking off your own dad, but now you've crossed it.
Whoa. Hey, when you gotta eat, you gotta eat.
Barry, see the Freitas fight, see just after the fight, they were talking about, what was that? Was that 2000?
January the 15th, 2000. I remember it well because
it was Roland, it was a commentator, and it was...
No, it was Ian Dark and Glenn McCraw.
Oh, fucking sorry, it was Ian Dark. He mentioned basically maybe like a fight with like Floyd Mayweather or Corrales. I know he fought like Corrales at 135, but I don't think that was like his best weight.
No.
And like, I know we had this conversation last week with regards to like people was getting this impression that Floyd ducked every day, so we went through the names that he could have maybe fought. See if Freitas fought Floyd at super featherweight and Corrales at super featherweight, do you think there would have been any other outcome?
I think he would have beat Corrales at super featherweight because I think Corrales was dead at the weight, to be honest. I really do. I think he wasn't getting battered against Corrales at lightweight, to be honest.
It was a good fight.
Yeah, it was a good fight, but he just quit, didn't he? Done a proper just a bottle job. But he was starting to get turned over a bit, I think. But I think Mayweather would have beat him. I think Mayweather was quite aggressive as a super feather in many ways, more than he is now. That's what it was since last few years, that's for sure. And I think he would have played with Freitas. I gotta be honest. Put it this way. Around about that time, I think the super featherweight division was Freitas, Corrales, Casamayor, and Mayweather. What a fucking division that was.
There was him as well. There was and
I was a little bit behind him.
But he beat Casamayor as well when Casamayor was undefeated. That's another good one. That was a good one as well.
Very, very close fight that.
Very, 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 very close. And I think he had a knockdown he didn't deserve, and that probably swayed it his way. I think, if I remember rightly, but listen, a close fight against Casamayor is not a bad thing because he was absolutely superb. I was saying, if I had the choice to pick any of those fighters, of those four champions, I would have picked Freitas every time. To be honest, I think Freitas was a fabulous champion. He really was so powerful, it's unbelievable. He hit me. The punches I didn't go down, hurt more than the punches that knocked me down. It was just something else. I thought, what the fuck's going on here? I like, stop hitting me, please. Just stop. Like, fuck it. Just for a minute. And I won the fourth and the fifth on the judges' scorecards. This is true. Because he stopped punching. I thought, let's just do that. This is good. This is the plan.
He might have hurt his hands in the previous 3 rounds.
How much weight did he put on for the weigh-in to the fight? Do you know? Did they tell you how much weight he put on? Because he looked absolutely massive.
Yeah, I think it was. I heard the rumor. I don't know 100%, but we had a check weigh-in. But I weighed in 9.2. It was 9.4 the weight, but I never struck. I was too small for super feather. I was, to be honest. I was a super bantamweight. That's what I was, to be honest. That's what I should have been. But anyway, I weighed 9.2. He was 9.4. He was dead on the weight of the weigh-in. And he never made the weight. He and Dad,
they said he was over in the commentary. I remember. Yeah.
It was fucking disgusting. And the British Boxing Board official, whoever he was, and the WBO official were on a table away from it. So he had the TV camera crew following him around, Freitas. So they're all around it, and he's gone, yeah, 9.4, 9.4, you know, they're broken English, no clapping hands. He gets off. My old trainer, Ronnie Rush, he was about 5'2", old Trinidadian guy with really thick fingers, and like goes, you haven't fucking made the weight. He's going mad, and then they've rammed the bottle down Freitas' throat like it was like a fucking Debbie Does Dallas, and then so he's
was it Gallagher? Well, Gallagher's, was it Kid Galahad's brother that was standing with a bottle?
Yeah. I don't know. Some Australian guy called Brown.
Big Daddy.
But he smacked the bottle out of his hands. But I went, oh, don't worry about it now. Don't worry about it. Like, it is what it is. It's done. Like an idiot. But I would have boxed. I think I would have boxed Isham Pickering. I think, because there was a little bit of a problem after that with the contact, and Isham Pickering was on standby. Isham was a good fighter, but he was a super bantamweight, so I would have fancied my chances just for size alone. But I was glad I was boxing Freitas because it was a genuine fight. Though looking back now, I would have rather boxed fucking nobody and won a world title.
I had this wrote down. You won the title what, in '97?
Yeah, December.
So
it was a great night because Nazim Hamid was on my undercard.
I was going. He was on your undercard. Was he fighting Kelly that night, or was it?
Yeah. Do you know what? It was a wicked night because it was in London. There was some really good. There was a good fight. Ensley Bingham beat Matthew Thurwell for the British title after Ensley Bingham had lost to Winky Wright the same year. Who else on the undercard? Adrian Dodson got smashed to pieces by Winky Wright. Brilliant that was. Robin Reed lost to Sugarboy Malinga, and Nicky Cantwell lost the world title fight to some Thai guy, got cut over the eye, and I was the only one to win that night. And then a few hours later in New York, then Hamid had that ding dong then with Kevin Kelly in
so the 2 years where we won. Do you think that fight? Let's see if you'd basically didn't get stopped fighting. Do you think Warren would have maybe done that, because we know Warren's quite invested interest in maybe making in-house fights and that, like a Bob Arum type. Do you think he would have maybe made that fight?
I don't understand the word you're saying. What did you say? Slow down.
The fuck? Am I speaking Gaelic here?
Fuck. I don't know. I can't understand what you're saying.
Barry, you said something about Brian. Am I right? You said.
Get that penis out your mouth. Let me listen to you. Sorry, Brad. No, sorry, Brad. I didn't hear you. Sorry, mate. Can you say it again?
No, I'm just saying. Let's see if you didn't have to stop boxing at that point in time. It was '97. Naz was banging in his prime.
Yeah.
And Warren was quite good at making in-house fights. And that would he have made that fight?
I've mentioned that already when you were.
I know.
I'm
basically trying to ignore that, so you answer me, so I take the credit for this question.
Yeah, it was a fight that wasn't on his radar, but I was hoping that I was an opportunity for Naz to be a 2-weight world champion, which he would have beat me in, and I would have got paid handsomely for it. So it was a fight I was hoping for, obviously.
Because they could have done the Revenge of the Welsh, couldn't they?
Well, I think my first fight, I had to box Julian Lawsey in Paris, who'd drawn for the title twice before with a Colombian called something Castillo. And to be honest, Lawsey was a good fighter, but I think style-wise, I think I would have beat him. I'm not just saying that because I was lucky doing a world title. I wasn't really world championship material. That's the truth. But,
you won a proper world title, Scott.
No, I did, but I'm just saying, I'm honest about boxing. I love the sport more than I love my career, so I can say this. I won a world title and I'm a world champion, but you can only compete in the climate you're in. And the climate I was in was, I got a world title shot ahead of so many other people, and which I didn't deserve, but I took it. It was one of those chances of a lifetime I didn't even think twice about saying no to, because I'd lose to a world champion, and that didn't matter. And it was the wrong weight, by the way, but I didn't care. I just took it. I didn't even think twice about it, and I'm glad, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for that. But I was a good European fighter, and that should be enough. That should be enough in boxing.
Does that annoy you then currently? Because everyone seems to be like people who aren't world level, like Paul Smith, for example, they're obsessed with fighting for world titles. Why is he not happy with just winning a British title and winning it outright?
It's because the climate that he's in, he won't get credit for being a British champion.
He won't get credit for it because he's an asshole.
They've devalued the British title.
No, but
I agree with you, Barry.
But in general, it doesn't. It's like, put it this way, I would have got more money when I was boxing for an intercontinental title than I would have a British title. Fucking figure that out.
But not everyone can be a world champion, and as you're saying, it seems to be more and more these days that everybody is obsessed with becoming a world champion or being world level or classified as world level.
Well, what it is now, as soon as somebody wins a British title, they're talking about world title straight away. They don't even if they do fight for the European title, straight away the European title fights. And it's more political. The sport's more political now than ever before. That's why Frank Warren gets all his boxers intercontinental fights before they get any domestic titles. They get intercontinental title fights because that gives them a rating in that organization automatically. They win a WBO, European, whatever this, you can give it all the other stupid names you want. They win one of those titles, which for the fighter is a big deal because it's the first title, it's a belt. I know it means nothing on the landscape to fans. I understand that, but to a boxer, it's a big deal. It's your first real trophy as a professional.
See the problem with that, Barry, is like, I prefer the old-fashioned route, right? Going like area level, Commonwealth, British, European, and then on to the world scene. See if you're doing it that way, and you're fighting like before you go to the world stage, you're fighting a few like European level, then you got and you fight fringe world level, and then you go to world level. You're preparing yourself for when you eventually go to world level, and that's how like these days there's people making the jump between straight, as you were saying, they're going straight from British level right to world level, and they're getting beat because they're not being prepared. Oh, he's left the call again. There we go. You back, guy?
I'm back.
As I was saying, there doesn't even cut off it. Like they're making that jump and they're not prepared because they're not like fighting like European level and then not like fighting like a fringe contender 2 or 3 times and then jumping onto the world. So they're making that jump too quick, and 9 times out of 10 they're getting defeated.
Andy, you know the exact point that you're trying to make. Like, you know how when before Hatton fought Costa Azul, he fought Ben Taki, who was a fucking proper hard bastard that would have put him rounds. He was a good world level fighter, right? And like Crawler, remember like Crawler was offered the Lundy fight, and Joe Gallagher says, no, that's too hard a fight. That needs to be for a world title. We're like, what the fuck?
Well, Paul Smith said the other day, Brian, he was asked about the Martin Murray fight, which seems to make sense for both guys at this stage in their career. And he said it's not worth taking unless there's a major title on the line. And you just think, what do they want, these guys? It's just like, they're sort of stuck in that limbo, aren't they, where they're too big for British but not good enough for the world.
And you listen, you're all right. In an ideal world, you are right. In an ideal world, you wouldn't be allowed to box for the European title unless you did win a British title. Now, I'm saying this, I never won any of those titles. You know, I beat the guy who was British champion, and I beat a guy who won the European title, and I even beat a guy who won a Commonwealth title. But I never boxed for those titles. And
did you just not get the chance, or?
Well, I didn't get the chance, and I won an eliminator, and nothing came of it, and I wasn't with a big promoter until I signed with Frank, and that was in '96, and then I boxed for world title in '97, so it's who you're with and who you know.
But Barry, do you think that it actually a system of where you sort of have to win at one level before you can move on to the next? I actually think it could work in the UK. I don't think it could work in America or Mexico or North America, but they have a rule in Japan where you can't fight for a world title until you've won a significant belt at either Asian or Japanese level, because it's quite a self-contained community there. They're all at the same weight. And think about how many fighters we've got at middleweight and super middle in Britain. I think you should have to win a domestic title before you can go further, and I think it would actually be manageable.
It would take boxers to be. It would mean champions boxing 4 times a year, and I think that's acceptable. But I don't think that for some reason in this climate that doesn't happen anymore, and you can all make your own assumptions why that doesn't happen, but it doesn't. So, then you'd have to say, well, if you can't defend your title, we're going to strip you of the title and get these other guys, because otherwise they'll go when you can't get a title fight, you go for another route. So if there's only one route to go to, there's a massive long queue there, and it's not fair if you're 6th in that queue, but you're good enough, and you're waiting for 18 months nowadays to get a shot. Whereas, if they're boxing 4 times a year, you're waiting 8 months.
Do you think?
Or a year. So I think time restraints as well. It would be very difficult. If I'm making sense there.
No, that does actually make it makes total sense. Yeah, it's a shame. People just if you're fighting Floyd style twice a year at most, then it's just you're right. You just run out of time, don't you?
Yeah, it's not fair. And domestic fighters sometimes do that as well. And to defend not Paul Smith per se, but defend Paul Smith is what he said about Martin Murray and other fighters like that is because they're only they're product of their environment and the climate that they box in, that they know to box Martin Murray for a British or Commonwealth title, which is perfect. The fight itself's a big fight, a good enough fight to have. It's a great fight. We see as a good fight, a competitive.
There are a lot of tickets, yeah.
Yeah, but financially, he gets more for a world title fight, and I don't know why that is. Just because he got the W in front of it, rather than but that's just how things work. And so, why would he want to fight a world class fighter, or on paper, 2 world class fighters, whatever you might say? I know no one's a Paul Smith fan, but he's boxed competitively for 2 world titles, so that makes him a world class fighter just for that alone. Brian, be quiet. But so, why would 2 world class fighters want to box for a British title? It's the same with George Groves. Why there's a round robin there of for the British and European titles right there. But does George want to step down to European? Because if you get beat at the British level, then you can't call yourself world class anymore. You're not going to get an expected shot at Badou Jack or James DeGale or anyone else who's a world champion. So they're afraid that if they get beat at that British level, that they're done at the world level. So,
but do you think fans really would or turn their back on fighters like that? I mean, we see it. So I see it as well, that so many fans will defend their guy through any sort of hardship, through any sort of failure of anything. I mean, we've seen this week with the Lucas Brown stuff about the PED test, his failure, and there's fans pouring out in his defence, and there's guys that lose. I mean, we've seen obviously George Shutt, he got so much praise and defence for losing. I mean, I think the fighters worry too much about taking a loss and feel like they're going to lose too much marketability. But in reality, true fans of them, will back them no matter what. They could have like 10 losses on the spin. And I think for some fans, will just absolute diehards, will keep them going.
It's not. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's not loss. It's how you lose. I think I think if you get in hide-ins, if you get listen, I boxed 1 world class fighter, and I took a hide-in. So in my heart of hearts, I think I'm competitive against a lot of people, but in my heart of hearts, that doesn't make me a world champion or a world class fighter maybe, because I stepped at world level. I took my hiding, and I was proud, and it's the proudest moment of my life because I got knocked down 6 times, I got up 6 times, and I showed that I had a little bit of fight in me. But I was woefully short of being anything anywhere near competitive. So you got to tell yourself, I would never say this in public. Too late. But I've said it many times. I'm honest because I love my sport. I love boxing. I was a world champion, and I was a good fighter as well. I can say that because I'm honest. I wasn't great. I was good. But no, it's a sad time for the sport where there's people winning world titles and they got no place in being a world champion, and I'm one of them. And also, to be honest, I think 90% of the British world champions we've had from the 90s up should be saying the same thing.
I've already said this to you before when I met you. Like, you seem to kind of fucking be quite hard on yourself when you say stuff like that. Like, look at
it's not that, right? It's that I don't criticise other boxers for winning world titles, and I don't get involved in this Craig thing, and I don't get involved in
no, but you're quite hard on yourself for somebody that's actually won a world title. No,
because I can't be critical of other guys who shouldn't be there or not good fighters. If I'm not honest about if I'm honest about my career, I'm an open book about my career. So when I say things about this, I'm not like you give other boxers loads of grief because they seem to be blinkered about their own career, but then they slag off or they're critical of other fighters. You go, hang on a minute, what about you? Or could I say it to myself? Hang on, have you not looked at yourself, or have you not seen what you do? And so, but I'm not like that. I'm honest about what I did. I'm honest about where I was, where my level was. I know who I am. I know what I am. And other fighters, should be more realistic, maybe. But I'm saying that there's 90% of the British world champions we've had a similar sort of ilk of me were never really good enough to be a world champion. If world champion means the best in the world, that's what I'm saying.
I've seen you say that before.
Think about it, the best in the world. It's some go.
How many fighters can say that conclusively at the moment? There's probably only 2 or 3 in the whole sport.
Well, listen, hang on a minute. But how many fighters can say that from in '95 on?
Joe Calzaghe.
Yeah, there's not many though. There's not many though.
Not many.
At the moment, if you're looking,
Ben and Eubank, everyone loves the whole Ben and Eubank thing. They weren't the 2 best fighters in the division.
No.
They were
Roy
world
Jones
class.
would have smashed them.
Of course, and James Toney at that time would have smashed them.
Yeah.
And that's no. They're fantastic fighters, but that's just the reality of it. And I'm not saying that's just the truth.
See the way I look at this though. Like Ricky Burns isn't the most talented guy in the world, but he made the most of it to go. He won a world title.
Yeah,
You've got Kevin Mitchell, who I said is fucking far superior talent-wise than Ricky Burns, and done. He fucking failed miserably. So like I can tell you one thing, like if Kevin Mitchell won a world title, you'd never hear the end of it. So you kind of talk yourself down a wee bit. Like Ricky Burns doesn't get appreciated enough, even though what he has achieved, and I don't know what it is, but you kind of sound the same.
Burns is the ultimate example of the what have you. I think Barry, boxing fans are terrible for the sort of the what have you done for me lately attitude. Where Ricky Burns is, 2-time world champion in 2 different weight classes. As soon as he loses to Crawford, he just drops off the radar altogether, and people forget about him.
Yeah, but who the fuck's Crawford?
Yeah. But I think it's the same with Ward. People just sort of forgot about him because he wasn't fighting all the time. And fans are so fickle, and if you have a bad night or if you take a loss, they can just completely abandon you. And I spoke recently with a guy called Frankie Gavin. I think obviously you know who he is. He's fought on Boxnation before. But you mentioned that you thought some of the Sky fighters were products of their environment. I think Frankie Gavin's one of the strongest examples of that. I asked him, would you trade? Do you think guys like Duran and guys like Tommy Hearns would trade their best wins for an undefeated record? And he replied straight away, yes, everyone wants to be undefeated. And you just think, he genuinely believes that. Like, he genuinely thinks that Duran would trade the victory over Ray Leonard, in the first fight to have a 0 on his record. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of stock, but and it's not just now. It's been since the 90s. The 90s was the start of the multi titles, these intercontinentals, internationals. They were called pentacontinentals when they first come out, and they were the start. That was the start of it because TV wanted a title to sell. The Sky, not Sky, the HBO and all those. They wanted title fights to sell to the public. Not boxing fans like us, but I mean the general public who don't really have. Oh, that's a title fight. We'll watch that. Could have got a belt online, and then the undefeated record sounds more attractive to the layman. Them two, their combined records are 126-0. It sounds great, but they could box nobody. We know that, but so it's not all about the hardcore boxing fans. So they don't give a shit about us. And I said no, because I am a boxing fan more than anything else. Because we're gonna watch boxing, whatever. Some people slag Boxnation off and some people slag Sky off. But if you're a boxing fan and you don't have both, if you can afford it, that's what I say. It's all about financial. I've said this before. I've said if you can afford it and you don't have Boxnation, you're not a fucking boxing fan. And I don't say particularly it's great. It's just there's boxing. Some of Andre Ward, the Pacquiao fights, the Mayweather fights we've seen, and other fighters. Golovkin, we introduced Golovkin to the world in many ways, like to us.
And Crawford, you've had almost all his.
Crawford, you've had them all. Only because no one else wanted them. That's all it is. Because there's no one else to go, and thank God for that. But and the same with Sky. We'd be fucking lost without Sky boxing. We really would.
Barry,
who else takes? There's no money in boxing. That's what I'm saying.
But Barry, you talk about fans affording it, but look at Sky. Look at the amount of pay-per-views they've got. You get Sky bill £100 a month these days. It's crazy if you're buying everything.
Listen, I'm paying for it as well. By the way, I pay for Boxnation.
You need to talk to Bunsey about that. claim it back on expenses.
He's listen, he's just an employee like the rest of us. Don't worry about that.
Barry, do you not get a bit pissed off with Boxnation now because they're missing some good cards? Like you've missed the Pacquiao and you missed the Saddam Ali Vargas card.
Yeah, I do. I listen. There's loads of stuff. I have no say, and none of us who you see have any real say on the channel. I gotta be honest. And listen, I don't know how the channel works, and I think every month's a struggle. I think we got decent subscribers, and if we stay just doing what we're doing, we'll go on forever. But if we want to have a big fight, and I know any show in the UK costs a fortune, even like a York Hall show, because there's so many, like you got to have a truck outside with like 10 employees. Then you got to pay for the lighting rig above the ring, and then there's like cameramen who are on £400 an hour or whatever they're on, and then we all got our wages and everything else, security and the hire of this and not the insurance. It costs a fortune. Now, for a big company like Sky, that's just expenses. But
well, even Sky, they used to do the red button on the proper undercard fights, and they've been that off because they said it wasn't worth their while to do it. So I can understand why.
Well, Ringside's gone to there's more of it.
Thank fuck.
Well then, right. But no, I mean that's gone because like the Bunsour, we're fighting to save that every month. Now I don't know whether it's good or not, but it's a magazine show, it's the only one going. But it's because it costs a fortune. You've got to hire the studio and the cameraman and the lighting guys, and there's like 10 people in the gallery, like where they do all the proper stuff, the director, the producer, and all the other guys who are real professionals. They do all the real work. Plus you got the guys who are on camera, who you see on the set. So there's so much money that when we put a big show on, like the Saunders and Lee, and they all get paid good money and stuff like that, and we have a big arena, which maybe is too big, but that drains the resources. So then we have to wait a few months to start again. So I do get frustrated because there's some great fights we missed. How do we miss the Pacquiao fight again? I don't understand that, because I want to work. I only get paid when I work. I'm not on a contract, so I want fights Friday and Saturday.
Well, you see. I've been critical of Boxnation the last couple of weeks, right? And I'll tell you exactly why. Right, I particularly hate boxing. Right, I don't know if anybody's actually noticed that. Right, I fucking hate the sport. To be perfectly honest, right. My main gripe is basically the politics within the sport. Right, I hate the WBA. Right.
Yeah.
And everybody knows I'm hard on Scott Quigg, and it's no really his fucking fault, but it's the situation they get into, right? But my fucking big issue with Boxnation is, let's see Liam Smith, how he won that belt, right? The opponent that he fought. And I'm just holding off to see his next opponent. I want them just to fucking stop mentioning Cotto. I know that's what boxers do. Just mention the biggest name. Just fucking somebody realistic. Fight Andre. We want that Andre fucking fight. We want it. We want the proper champion that had the belt that gets stripped. We want that fight. And so I try not to be hard on Billy Joe, because I think his resume is decent. See for right, he's not ducked ended until he got to here, and he got offered, like, as far as we know, good money for Golovkin. Right. For me, I've said to them, I think Billy Joe's going to end up being shamed into fighting Golovkin, where he's going to take that much grief off of fans that he's maybe going to be forced into taking the fight. I don't know whether he wants it or no, but
let me tell you about Billy now. Billy's a fabulous boxer, really a fabulous boxer. He's all about the money. I tell you what, he's all about the money. He don't give a shit. He'll box Tyson Fury if he gets paid. If he gets his quota, he'll fight anyone. I tell you that, right or wrong, whether it's a good fight or not, and then you won't see him again. He's all about the money, that man.
But
I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
He got offered millions for Golovkin. Like,
well, maybe it's not enough. I don't know what it. But I tell you so. But he's getting offered millions. But all he's offered, I don't know. I don't get involved in it all, and I generally don't. But when you hear people talking about money, and they say, and you see them on videos, and you go, yeah, I've been offered this. Unless it's actually written in paper in front of him and he can sign this, but it's proof. And even then, it might not happen. Listen, I could put an offer out for a fight right now. Just pretend about, I'll pay you 20 million to fight my cousin's sister's fucking dog. No, you can just say what you want. The people just do. They ban figures around here, just trying to jump with interest in fights.
On that subject, did you see today that Walter's Lomachenko's apparently fallen through because Walter's wanted more money, and Lomachenko said let's put 300k up for the winner.
You can have my purse, can you? Or something
yeah,
like
which
that,
is brilliant. I'd love it if more people did that.
But he's not going to do that. But he said that, but he's not going to do that.
Right, see the thing with that is, I don't give a fuck whether boxers get paid or not, right? Unless it's Ricky Burns, right? I wouldn't care a fuck if they have to fight for nothing. But see the thing is, Lomachenko's been getting $750,000 for fighting absolute bums, and apparently he's been offered like something like £350,000 to fight Lomachenko in the headline bill in Madison Square Garden. I don't think Kennedy's going to really accept that.
Well, the problem is they pay him. Like, I don't begrudge any boxer any big money. They pay him.
I begrudge everything because I'm a miserable cunt and I've got nothing.
No, it's not that. No, I know that, bro. They pay him too much to start with, I think. So
that's exactly it with Lomachenko.
So
I was going to say.
Sorry, go on. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say I was going to sort of lead this into like the PBC and what they've been doing, but you carry on with your point.
But they pay him too much to start with, and then then they expected a massive jump. Because for me, I went from nothing to getting decent money for a world title fight. It wasn't great money, but it was decent money. It's what they would get for the 10 rounder or something. Anyway, but regardless of that, so that jump was massive. So everyone thinks it's a big jump to world title level. So when they're getting paid £350,000 or £750,000 for fights, and then they box for a world title, they're expecting to be 5 million, 3 million, 2 million, and they go, no, it's exactly the same, mate, because you'll be getting paid big money all the time. Because it's not like I can say here's the money, but where does the revenue come from?
Well, you get guys like Santa Cruz, don't you, where he's saying, well, I'm getting 1.5 million for my sparring partner, so I'm not going to fight Rigo unless I get,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, yeah. And that PBC thing, which when you guys were going to talk about, is again, it's a fad. That is, it's a fad. I think it's great if it's great for the boxers who got in on it now at the ground level, because they earn big money. But I don't know this, and this is just my own little theory. I got a feeling that he disappears because he never promotes a fight, so he's legally not obligated. He's not legally tied to anything. He's an agent for these boxers, so he gets some work, and he's getting paid two ends. He's getting paid off them, and he's getting paid before them. So he's getting his money, and everyone else is going to be. And so there's going to be some poor promoter being arrested.
There's a fantastic quote.
I can see something crazy like that happen. I really can.
Well, how hilarious would it be to hear, man? I would absolutely hit a power wank.
Barry, there was a brilliant quote this week from Cameron Duncan, one of the managers out in California, who I think works with HBO, and they were interviewing him and asking him how he competes with Heyman when Heyman can pay so much more. And he says, it's really simple. I just tell my guys, look, if you stay with me and you keep winning, I'll get you on HBO. And HBO will still be around a year from now, 5 years from now, whereas maybe Heyman won't, and they have to sort of trust him and play the long game.
Well, I think so, but you couldn't blame a fighter for going in now at the ground level because he's paying silly money. Though he's paying silly money, Like James DeGale has been has benefited from him massively, hasn't he? He really has. Except he's boxing and no one knows when he's fighting over here. That's a sad thing for him because he's a world champion, but he's getting paid the good money. So that's financially, he's doing the right thing.
What about a guy like Lee Selby? Obviously probably the best Welsh fighter for the last few years. Well, since Joe Calzaghe, would you agree? Maybe.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's fabulous. He really is. But his last, I think the purse bid, I can't remember what it was. No, it was they won the purse bid for his the Hunter fight originally. And it was about $300,000 or something like that. But the next bid was $50,000.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Something like that. I can't quite remember. Obviously, it's all this off the top of my head. But thinking, where's Heyman there with his mega money? Because I think he got something like $750,000 for boxing Montiel. Yeah. Which is silly money. He would have boxed Montiel on an Eddie Hearn show for $100,000 and been happy.
And that Montiel fight was in the middle of fucking nowhere on a Wednesday night, and he got paid $750,000.
The same with Frampton over in he boxed in Texas at like 2:00 in the afternoon or something silly like that. But Heyman don't care about any of that. He don't selling tickets.
It's not his money though, is it?
He's not promoting it as well, is he? So.
No, he's not. His hands are almost clean. He's just the agent. He's the middleman. I think he's going to disappear. He is, and someone's going to get into trouble. I hope.
I've always said
Luda Bella's the one that's at the forefront, isn't he? With a lot of these shows, Luda Bella's the promoter.
Yeah.
Well, I listen to all the podcasts, and apart mainly I get my information from Steve Kim, and then I kind of kid on it's actually me. They're saying that like the Warriors boxing and all that are proper pissed off, and like there's like people considering like suing Heyman as well. Like see you know how these get his money for hedge funds and that. Well, the people that have invested into the hedge funds, they're seeking legal advice about fucking suing Waddell and Reed, is it?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
But it depends how much time he bought to start with, isn't it? As to they're saying his funds depleted massively, but it depends how much time he bought with that initial 300 million or however much he had.
I think all you need to see is that all you need to see to know that he's running out of money is the fact that his best fighters are starting to go abroad, and starting to have to fight away from home. And a year ago, would Wilder have ever fought in Russia? No.
See, I agree with that shit. That was the thing that started registering with me that the wheels maybe be coming off that because I thought he didn't even bid for that, didn't he?
No, and Charles Martin as well.
Exactly. Charles Martin's been shipped over here.
He did bid for the Wilder fight, but he could have bid a lot more. I think a lot of us expected him to bid like fucking break the bank for it, but obviously he just got pissed out of the water by the Russians.
But the thing with that, I don't understand. If you got a heavyweight champion of the world, you keep him at home.
Yeah.
Because that heavyweight, just say the heavyweight, it's a different level to any of the weights in the sport.
Look, if you look at the last 6 months for his purse bids, right? See if you go back to the starts. Look at his first 12 months. He paid something, was it $3.5 million for Darrell versus De Gale, which was massively over the odds. So you don't know if maybe he's overspent at first, and now he's starting to realise, this money's not going to last. So it's a mental situation, because you see there's so many people involved, and he's kind of sitting in the background, just playing puppet master per se. So
he's sitting there like fucking Brewster's Millions, isn't he? Just trying to blow icebergs and all that. Just fucking spend it on anything.
And also, some of them are not fighting, are they? Look at what's his name now? The middleweights. Oh, my brain's gone.
Danny Jacobs.
Just got beat by Jacobs.
Quillen.
Quillen, he gave up his title. They were boxed for ages.
What was that about?
Where was the financial gain in that?
Apparently fucking Jacobs is going to be fighting Lee June.
Yeah,
Saturday Night Boxing.
Yeah.
They want Saunders versus Jacobs, I've heard. That's what they're targeting after both of them win their next fight. That's one that Heyman wants, apparently.
What?
Saunders against Jacobs as a unification.
That's not even
it wouldn't be a unification, because the WBO
yeah. Regular and then the WBO belt.
Yeah, well, remember what they did with Kameda, with Jamie McDonnell? They said, you're not fighting for that. They told Kameda, you're not fighting for that WBA regular belt, because we don't recognise it. So if you fight him, we're stripping you.
Do you know what? What a win that was swept under the carpet. That first win for Jamie McDonnell.
Oh, it was brilliant.
It was just swept under the carpet like it never happened.
But then he did it again, and he's still not really got much recognition.
I know.
Remember on that? What was that? McDonnell won on that night, and then there was a fight and Burns fought.
No,
it wasn't Burns.
They never showed fucking McDonnell live, and they showed Joshua fucking doing a skitting rope. Fucking
on the pads.
Well, weren't they showing like a coil fight, hyping up the Campbell match?
No, they were showing Joshua on the pads and like fucking.
It was the night Joshua fought. Who was it he fought? Was it Gavin or something? It was a Birmingham show. Yeah. It was a Birmingham show.
Oh, Zubano, that was Zubano Love in Birmingham.
That's right. That's who it was. Shit, that's who it was.
So sad that I know that. For fuck's sake. Barry, can I just ask? Sort of on the topic of Heyman, we criticise him a fair bit for sort of stalling careers, but one guy that we're all in agreement that if anyone's going to benefit from going to Heyman, it's probably Kell Brook at the moment. And I was just wondering what your thoughts on his career were, because he's one who really seems to have stalled in the last 18 months.
I think he's a good fighter. First of all, I'm not gonna say I think everyone's a good fighter just to keep everyone happy. I don't want to please everyone. That's just I'm just naturally please everyone. I don't try to. I just do. I'm a people pleaser. If you say that fast, did you end up saying penis pleaser? But I'm a people's penis pleaser.
Appropriate with Kell Brook.
Yeah.
Barry knows.
I don't know anything. He's never batted me around the ring. But he's yeah. It's again these like Jojo Dan wasn't a great defense for him. Gavin, like that compared to him wasn't really a great defense. He didn't set anything alight. And now Bizier, who's already got beat by Dan, I think, a couple of times, is again disappointing. Where he went to America and got a win, which everyone loves all that stuff. People go to America and get the win, which was great against a good fighter in Porter, and he should have moved on by now, and he should have. And I think he put all his eggs in the basket for the Khan fight. And I don't know much. I don't know how much he has. Not every boxer has a lot of say on their career. See, because when I was boxing, you were the boxer, he was the promoter. He did his job, you did your job, and it's only when you end up being a real star that you had say in what you were doing. Now every boxer has a say.
It's Mayweather, isn't it? Mayweather's kind of set the blueprint of looking at yourself. Yeah.
It also opens up the criticism. It opens them up to criticism because I could just go, I'm fighting who I'm fucking told to fight, and that was the truth. I've turned on one fight in my life, and that's because I was boxing a kid called Cassius Beloue, who I never heard of at the time, ended up being a world champion. I was going to go to South Africa for $2,000 for the 10-rounder, and I was told he was like a 5'4" super bantamweight who lost 10 fights or something, and then he was like a 6'1" featherweight who was undefeated and knocked out everyone. So I went, nah, I'm getting ripped off here. That's the only time I turned on a fight. So because you didn't even know, you just got told, listen, there's a fight, you want it? Yeah, I'll take it. And now they have more say in their career. But then when things like this happen, when you're boxing Bizier's and Jojo Dan's, then people start to go, listen, how can you call yourself a pay-per-view star when you're not fighting pay-per-view fighters?
And especially when he's already proved that he is good enough.
Yeah, he's good enough. That's right.
Yeah.
You know that's why that's the frustrating part. It's not as if we're saying, go on, we want you to prove that you can compete. He's proved he can compete. Like, people are raving about Thurman and Porter now. Oh, Thurman's boxing Porter. Well, fucking, he's already beat Porter.
I see, don't hang around though, Barry. It's like
ahead now than Brook. Porter's
basically just want to fight MD and everybody. And he, let's see, by the time he fights Thurman, he's already going to high Broner on Thurman on his resume. I mean, like, if all that Bonnet would probably be one of Brook's best wins, and that shows you how bad his resume is. And Bonnet's not great, but
yeah, I think Brook should have been for where he is now, where he's at. I think he could have and should have had better fighters on his record and beat him. I think he's good. I think Brook's good. I do think he's good. I think people tend to think he's going to crumble or lack a bit of when he's in a bit of a firefight that he's going to maybe bottle it or something.
Probably the syphilis.
If for fuck's sake, Brian, stop it. Barry, I was saying if I'm Brook, I'd move heaven and earth to get the Garcia fight, because I think I think he could do a job on Garcia, and that would really raise his profile again.
I'm not sure. I think Garcia, who hasn't looked the same fighter as welterweight as he did as a light welter, I still think that he finds a way to win. I still think it's a hard fight for Brook. The only thing I favour Brook is that he's just so big for the weight. Fucking tank. I saw him out the training, Brook, and he looks like a fucking super middleweight.
Barry, you know what I think he should do? Let's see, after this mandatory, I honestly think that he's not going to get any other champion, because why would Heyman give him Garcia when he can make Garcia versus Thurman or Porter, who wins that? That's a unification for them, right? And why is Bradley or Pacquiao going to fight Brook when there's like Vargas there that they can make an in-house unification?
Yeah, well, see, you're not getting. Bradley's a pay-per-view star, so he's a pay-per-view fighter, so he's not going outside of America. Garcia's not going outside of America, and they're only going to fight people because they want to put him on pay-per-view. So I would imagine, so they're only going to fight people who could sell American TV. So that's got to be another American fighter.
I don't know, whether Brook should maybe either just call for his next unification, his mandatory right away, because he's not going to get a big fight in the summer that Herm's talking about. They should maybe just call for his get Spence after Spence has beat Algeria. I think that's like a decent fight. And if he beats Spence, it fucking Americans will take proper notice of him this time.
Yeah,
and
he got to beat. You think that's a problem? See, he beat Porter in America, and even though it wouldn't have set the world alight, he's gone then and beat one of their own. That's when he didn't capitalise on that. So beating Errol Spence, who everyone's raving about, and maybe if you don't get Spence now, Spence might be too good in another 18 months. Who knows? You know, I think Spence.
There's even the possibility. I'm not going. See this like, they'll no fight because there'll be Aram or Heyman. I'm refusing to fucking use that as an excuse anymore. Like the same as like with Hearn and Warren. So I don't understand why they maybe not even like kind of try and discuss like to fight like Liam Smith. Because a guy like we all know that Brook's going to go to 154 fucking in the next 12 months. We all know I personally will go to 154. He'll no fight Spence. They'll move him up. But I mean, Liam Smith's here. Why not for that fight?
I think Brook would fight Spence. I think he's proven that he will take the fights. Whether Hearn would want that for the money that was on offer, because it's a mandatory, especially if Heyman wins it with a fairly low bid, whether it's worth it, because he's one of Hearn's, he's one of his best fighters. Frankly.
Of course he is. Yeah. Remember, I don't know how it works now, but what it used to work before with the Calzaghe syndrome, where Joe got criticism for staying at home, then. What happens is Frank would offer money to whoever, Bernard Hopkins, for instance, and you go, I'll give you $3 million in the box, Joe. This is all pretend figures, and he go, no problem, I'll fight you. You got to come to Cardiff, no problem. I love Cardiff in the summer. I'll go to Cardiff. So that's proper dog insights in Cardiff. I'm going to Cardiff. So Hopkins to come to Cardiff in the summer, and Frank goes, but I want you for your next 3 fights. And you go, what? Well, obviously, no. If you beat Joe, I want you for your next 3 defences, and that's where it breaks down because promoters used to. I don't know if it's the same now with
they still want options, don't they?
Because if you beat their TV star, they want you. So a lot of Americans.
An insurance policy, isn't it, in a way? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all about TV dates. So Brook's a TV date. No, or he might care for him, but I mean, in the cold light of day on paper, he's a TV date.
Apparently, that was the issue with Rios last summer. Was that Hearn wanted Rios? He wanted options on him if he was to beat Brook, and HBO just wouldn't allow it.
And also, whatever welterweights that Eddie's got, they're in with Rios next. Or Brook gets the return. That's what happens. Then you just chuck your fighters in and try and get him beaten, try and get the title back. So, and they got options on you, and that's how it works. So, and why would the American pro? They want to be promoted by a British promoter, an American fighter. Sorry. Want to be promoted by a British promoter, so it broke down for Joe a lot of the fights there. Like Glenn Johnson broke down, I think, because of things like that. Because they don't want to sign 3 fight options. But yeah, I think Klitschko gets like 10% of other fighters' earnings if they were to beat him. So
Apparently, that was one of the stumbling blocks for Quig Frampton for a long time as well. Was the options? If one guy was to win.
And you can't blame the guys. You can't blame the promoters because that's their sole job, isn't it? To promote fighters and make the money off them. So you can. I'm not a big hater of promoters because, I say this I'm obviously I'm a boxer, but with all these boxers who slag off managers, promoters, just out there, they get all this money, they get all this, they get all that. Well, they put their money up. Or their dad's money, or whatever you want to say,
Oh! Truth bombs.
No, but you put your money up then. You put your money up and you promote it. You get all the fucking power.
Well, some of them do. Like David A promotes himself and he gets shit because he puts on shit cards, so you can't win, can you?
And Joshua's going to promote himself, definitely.
Yeah. Well, Joshua is these heavy. Joshua don't. He's a gold mine. Joshua. Anyone involved with Joshua, like you just put your name to him. He's that's it. Now you're cashing in with it.
But this is a question for you then about Joshua. Do you think Frank would have done a better job building him than Hearn has?
No.
I think with of course I do.
The guy's fucking.
Of course I do. What are you on about? Of course I do.
With 16 fights or whatever. It's pretty. I think he's done pretty well, Hearn. Maybe not through a bit of luck, but he's done.
He would have been much further on Boxnation. Listen, I think Frank's a better promoter on record, but I think the promoting game's changed a little bit now, and I think Eddie's a real salesman. And but ultimately, forget about that. With that Sky platform,
I didn't mean like where he would be in like public standard or whatever. I meant like progression-wise, do you think he would have fought better people?
Would he have fought better opponents? Yeah.
Because
I think
matchmaking would have been shit.
I think he would have had a couple of tests, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
I think Frank is better at building fighters, and Eddie is better at making money.
Yeah.
In a sense, as a promoter.
That's very well put. I can't comment on that, of course, because like I want to keep my job. I gotta say, if I'm not on the TV Saturday, you'll know.
But no, I think what I'm trying to say as well. Like, see, I think it was like one card where it was like Billy Joe Saunders, Frankie Gavin that were on it, and it was like a fucking card that was basically they're all going to either sink or fucking swim, and they were all in like tough fights. And
that was the Eubank Billy Joe one, that one, wasn't it?
You
really against
Gavin and Skeets and
yeah.
You really wouldn't want to fucking jeopardise the fact that maybe your top names would maybe take a loss. You wouldn't get that, and Frank is known for that. But we all know that Eddie Hearn's just basically Frank Warren. When Frank Warren was like fucking years ago when he took over for Duff, but Eddie Hearn's just done it a lot quicker. He's just turned into a cunt in quicker time.
Yeah. Well, he's had. To be fair, I don't know Eddie, so I'm not going to slag him. I don't know him personally, and
I'll slag him.
But you know, he's had a bit of a running start because he took over a company that was already proven successful, and I think he's moved it on. He's moved it on a lot. I think he knows the modern climate. He used that Twitter to great effect, and he got a lot of.
Oh, he's a master at social media. He's fucking amazing at it.
Casuals, which is a new word. You know, he's got a lot of casual people, which, to be honest, like I said earlier, us hardcore boxing fans will pay anyway because we love boxing, but the casuals will only go for undefeated records and and scandalous stuff that goes outside the ring. And a lot of Eddie sold a night out with Eddie Hearn. That's what he sold. He don't sell the boxing event. He sells himself. He come and have a night out with me. Dress up, bring your missus, and then you fuck off and I'll no.
She looks at my face.
It's funny that sort of thing just doesn't. They don't do that at all in America, do they? And I mean, like Heyman and Bob Arum have very different approaches, but there's no kind of there's no putting the promoter at centre stage and having this sort of character ringside.
Well, I hate it. I know nowadays you get trainers arguing with each other, and you get promoters like Eddie was arguing with Carl Frampton, and Frampton's all got sponsors. I don't know what's that all about. I know it. Listen, it's and I know one thing I don't like is real hate. There's always a fucking rival. There's always rivalries. No, there's always you can't just fight. What are you fighting him for?
They feel manufactured at times. Like Coyle and Campbell, it just felt like it was the fakest rivalry I've ever seen.
It's rubbish, and there's no need for a good fight. A good fight. I know there is need for it. They got to build it up, but it makes it more like wrestling every day.
But I think they do the rivalries because there's a lack of good fights, so they need to try and get some angle to sell it.
Yeah, they've got to make average fights seem significant.
A good case in point would be, see, at the end of last year, you had Andy Lee versus Billy Joe. I thought that was a cracking fight on the build-up, but it seemed to lack, and that is something that Matchroom do. They kind of, I mean, as you're saying there, they probably had more hype and more build-up than, say, Coyle Campbell, which was a total mismatch, than a real 50-50 like Billy Joe Saunders versus Andy Lee.
The biggest thing that they have to sell a fight is Sky Sports News, because they'll have their fighters on there 10 times a day, and they force them on each other. So in the end, they do get pissed off with each other because you don't want to see your opponent fucking twice a week. Do you run into a fight? You know what I mean? You will get so they can really push it. And it's brilliant. And they do the rivalry thing very well. And it sells to the layman who doesn't really follow boxing. They follow. Oh, that looks like a nasty bit. That looks like it's going to be a bit tasty. But everyone's trying to do it now. I think if you can't do it, it comes across as false. Like I couldn't do it. I know that I'm not built that way. Me, I can't pretend to dislike someone if I don't like you. I don't like you. And I'm not an argumentative sort of person, so I wouldn't get involved.
I think a good example, Barry, was again a Boxnation fight was the Saunders Eubank. Where you could tell that they genuinely really wanted to beat the other one and really wanted to embarrass them.
Well, imagine that on Sky. How big that would have been.
Well, that's what people were saying. They were saying, you know, oh, that was good, but it could have been a proper pay-per-view on Sky, and
and it would have been massive, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't have deserved it would have been a pay-per-view. It would have been without a doubt, it would have been on pay-per-view, but it didn't deserve to be on pay-per-view because they wasn't getting pay-per-view money. That's my only thing with pay-per-view, and I don't want to. I'm not slagging Sky off because I love Sky. Because I might work there next week. Who knows? No, well, I'm not saying so because I love the boxing. Anything that shows boxing, I'm happy to. But like pay-per-view fights should only be when boxers are getting so much money that the only way we can afford to see if we all got a chip in to pay for this. No, a pay-per-view fight shouldn't be a good fight. Oh, that's a good fight, right? That goes on pay-per-view.
The best definition I've heard, Barry, was that it should be a last resort to make a fight that's too expensive for regular.
Yes, yeah,
exactly. But just the matchroom in particular seem to just use it at any opportunity now. And
to
it's
be
just
honest, though, we would like if our producer, any programs on Sky, they would do the same thing. So I'm not having to go down. If you had that, if I was pro, then I would do the same thing because you think. Fucking hell. And more importantly, forget about Matchroom, Sky Sports are doing it. Because they don't. I would imagine boxing is nothing to Sky Sports. It's a fucking expense. It's nothing to them. No, if football was played at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, at 10 o'clock on a Saturday and Friday night, there'd be no more boxing on Sky. It'd be gone because it doesn't get the figures that to make it worthwhile. I don't think. Otherwise, BT would be involved in boxing, wouldn't they? No, if it was a big sport, let's be honest, they would be involved in boxing, trying to push Sky out. So pay-per-view is a way to keep boxing going, and if that's what it takes, then maybe we all have to just shut our mouths and pay for it.
What do you make of these rumours? What do you make of these rumours that it's coming back to more terrestrial, like ITV getting involved again and Channel 5 spending a bit more money on it? Do you think
it makes me nervous because if that happens, I think Boxnation goes. We don't survive. If Al Heyman comes over and he gets dates on ITV and ITV4, then I'm out of the fucking job.
No, because that terrestrial thing, with Al Heyman coming over, it'll only work if he's got British fighters, and Hearn's got them all, so. And Frank's got the other lot.
Well, he's got what he needs is, but the thing is, he can get British fighters, I think, quite easily. To be honest, but I think names. He needs names. For ITV1, he needs names. De Gale is not a big. Frampton is the name.
He can't exactly put international fighters on there because casuals don't give a fuck about him unless they're fighting British people. So
you couldn't put James De Gale on 10 o'clock on a Saturday night yet.
Not unless he was fighting George Groves, for example. You couldn't fight him putting like
Groves you can get away with because he's got a profile now.
You couldn't chuck James De Gale on ITV1 against Badu Jack because no cunt would watch it because they just don't know who Badu Jack is.
You can chuck Carl Frampton at 10 o'clock against anyone. I think. I really do. I think they could sell Frampton quite easily. So Frampton beating Quigg was always the thing that they can go there with that, and then try and build fighters off that with using an ITV4.
Here's one for you then, Barry. What do you think? Do you think Blackwell and Eubank Jr. will do more numbers than Bizier and Brook? They're both on the same night, both at the same time.
Of course it will. It'll double it, treble it maybe.
That just shows then, doesn't it?
That's not because of the fight itself. That's just because one's free and one you've got to pay for. That's it.
Sam, you're a fucking casual. What
fuck yourself.
But also the fact that it's a Eubank as well, that means it'll do really good numbers. I reckon that fight does 700, 600,000 just because it's a Saunders.
Eubank's made for ITV. He'd be fantastic for them.
Yeah, because he's Eubank there, because his dad's done the groundwork for him, and that's all. Yeah, and he can fight. By the way, let's be honest, he can fight. So,
Barry, just a sort of timely question that's reminded me of something you said a few years ago. I've just seen literally in the last hour that Adrien Broner has been charged with aggravated robbery, and his next fight is potentially in jeopardy in the States. And I can remember watching Boxnation for the Broner-Maidana fight, and you and Steve Bunce saying that you really wanted Maidana to win, but you had a feeling Broner was going to look spectacular. And I was wondering if I also thought Broner was going to win, by the way, so I'm not throwing you under the bus or anything. But I can just wondering whether you think he's possibly the biggest waste of talent of this generation, or whether there's anyone sort of comparable in terms of someone who's just thrown it away, who had all the natural talent?
First thing, he's a prick. Absolute fucking prick. I don't. He really is. I don't give a fuck if he was sat next to me.
Is that because he insulted Gavin Rees?
Did he? The cheeky fucker.
Called him Cabbage Reese.
Do you know what? I've only met Gavin once. Believe that. It's crazy, isn't it? I've only ever met him once, and that was in Manchester, of all places. Anyway, that's an interesting story you can tell your family. and yeah, but no, he's an absolute tool. He is. I don't like nothing. I dislike everything about him. But he can fight. But he's a come forward fighter, and I don't mean a face first fighter. He can. Am I still on you? Am I still on?
Yeah. Yeah, you're on.
He can slip punches coming forward. He can. But he and in that Madena fight, he showed how tough he can be. To be fair, he got beat, and I'm glad he got beat. I didn't think he would. I thought Madena was made for him, but he's not a. He thinks he's a Mayweather fighter, and he's not. But he is a waste of talent, and I think he's another guy who's at his way out of a career.
Do you think he should still be at lightweight, really?
Well, I think maybe light welterweight now. Is he back down to him? That might be okay for him, but. No, lightweight. I think lightweight is his perfect weight. He's just too fat. No,
I'll never forget you and Bunt saying you really wanted Maidana to win, and you I think you said I'm hoping Maidana pulls it off, but I can't see it. And then after the fight, you two were just I've never seen two men so happy to be working at 5 a.m. on a Saturday. It was so funny. But we were saying before that was one of the that's the sort of fight that really gets you hooked on boxing. And I can just remember all across the world fans going absolutely crazy for that fight. And yeah, it's a shame. It's just a shame it doesn't happen more often. But
I think Mayweather showed led a path how to be successful, but it can be. I don't think you can't follow that path. Like you can't try and train the box like Nazim Hamid. Some people just do the way Mayweather lives his life and stuff. Broner tried it with all the arrogance, and it come across horrible. Where Mayweather gets away with it, and he does. Some people don't. A lot of people dislike Mayweather, and and the way he acts and stuff like that. But you haven't got the hatred that Broner gets, because Broner does it with a distastefulness about him. I know Mayweather gets done for he knocks about a woman now and again and all that sort of stuff. But he's terrible things he does. But I think Broner's got this just a horrible way about him that he tries to be like Mayweather, and he just comes across like an absolute tool.
And Naz got away with it as well, didn't he? He kind of knew where the line was.
He did, yeah. Like, I didn't even like that. I played golf with Naz about a few months ago. I was telling him I wasn't a fan of you. I was a fan of your boxing skills, but I wasn't a fan of the way you portrayed yourself. I didn't. It's not my cup of tea. That, but it is. But young kids love it.
Did you ever forgive him for what he did to Steve Robertson?
Do you know what? He was playing golf, and every time he was in the bunker, I was going, "That one's for Robbo."
See, but my mate was the Scottish champion at the time when that fight was happening. I can still remember this because we were like 4th, 5th year at school, and he told me that Steve Robinson was going to absolutely fucking smash Naz. And
oh no!
And I was telling him, I was like, no, Naz is going to kill me. He's like, no, just watch. I know my boxing because he was a Scottish champion. And that was my fucking glory. That was just the start of me dominating fucking people about boxing. It was fucking wrong.
Everyone in Cardiff started to, because Naz would come the last few defences of Steve's title. Like Steve's so quiet and lovely family man, Steve, that we loved him in Cardiff, and he was so gentle, real lovely guy. And I sparred with Steve quite a lot, so I knew he was never going to beat Naz because he found it hard to hit me. So I thought, if I'm making him miss, what's Naz going to do to him? But people talk about the size, and people thought it was going to be too big for Naz, but I couldn't see it, and I hoped it was happening. I was meant to box that night. I was dressed up I had my shorts on all night. I was what's called a floater, not a fluffer, but a floater. And I didn't get the box that night, so I was dressed all night to box. I still got paid, but it was a good night. And Naz, to be fair, Naz took some real bad stick going into that ring that night. It was terrible. I'm on about real racist stuff.
But then Barry, halfway through I watched the fight recently, actually, again. I think it might have been on Boxnation for the
yeah, it would have been, yeah.
But about halfway through, by the second round, the crowd's pretty much silent, aren't they? And they know what's happening.
Well, because remember when you sell 17,000, whatever it was in the stadium, only a small part of them are real boxing people. So the rest of them are just people who follow sports or Cardiff or whatever. Welsh people do. Oh, what's Naz or Naz fans or whatever. So they didn't really know about boxing. So they thought Steve was going to just batter this 21-year-old idiot from Sheffield. That's what they thought. I'd say because Naz is from the Yemen, so there's a big Yemeni population in Cardiff.
Are you being serious?
Is there really?
I got another story about that. Yeah, but even they were calling Naz names, racist names. Yeah. Do you know what? My grandfather's from the Yemen. No, this is a true story. I swear on my.
Yemen, a nightclub in Cardiff.
No, my grandfather. This is a true story, right? I swear on my new son's life. My grandfather, my mother's father, is from the Yemen. So when I won a world title, I wasn't even the best boxer from the fucking Yemen. You know what I mean? I wasn't even the best boxer from the Yemen. I won a world title. I wasn't the best boxer in my street because Steve Robinson used to live in my street when I was a kid. So I win the world title. I'm not the best boxer in my fucking street. I'm not the best boxer in my house because my brother was more talented. But I won more than he did. I'm not the best boxer I'm not even the best boxer with Yemenis descent because fucking Nazim Hamid. How many good boxers does Arab people have? None. And the only one they have is from the same country as my grandfather. And I'm not. And if Kid Galahad wins the world title, I'm not even the best boxer called Barry from the Yemen.
I've got a question that keeps coming in about an Indian boxer for you. Basically, that people want to know how much of a cunt do you think Prince Patel is, and how funny did you find it when he lost?
My solicitors has informed me over legal reasons I can't possibly comment on him. To be honest, right? I didn't like it, but I don't want to be associated with Prince Patel. I wish him all the luck in the world, and I said this. Listen, he did what he did. I wasn't happy. I told him when we got off. I'm not gonna bullshit. When we got off air, I told him I wasn't very happy about it. That was it. He have apologised privately a few times. And publicly, apparently, if I haven't seen that, and that's it. He tried to make a name for himself through that, but he picked the wrong guy. Pick a fucking fighter people know for a start. You know what I mean? Pick a fucking good fighter. I don't pick me. I don't. You pick the wrong guy. You pick a fighter with an ego, maybe.
But Bunsey backed you up as well, didn't he, on air? Like,
well, I don't know. Did he? Didn't fucking shut up a while. I was just going.
And his career's gone off the rails since because didn't he had a draw last time out, didn't he?
Yeah, do you know what that is? I had to commentate on one of his fights actually. We recorded one of his fights. And I commentated on it, and I asked to commentate on it. They weren't going to do me. They thought no, it's fair enough, and I said no, I got to do my job. And he boxed okay actually, and he has got some skills. He is quite skillful, but you got to forget about doing. You got to be able to fight before you can talk. Unless like Nazim Hamid knew he could fight. So he started talking from day one, but they knew. Like with Prince Patel, he hasn't shown that. He's not quite sure himself how good he is or if he's any good. So he set himself up to fail. That's what he's done. And so I don't have no sympathy for the kid. I don't wish him any bad luck. I don't wish him any luck either, gotta be honest. I genuinely don't want to be, this goes out. And then someone will tell him that Barry's been slagging you off, and then he starts backing all the shit like that. And I don't want that.
It'd be better if he spoke like Kell Brook.
What's that?
It would be better if he just spoke and sounded like Kell Brook.
Yeah, maybe. All I know is that I don't want my name to be associated with fucking Prince Patel for the rest of his career. So, that's all. However long, whether he ends up being the best fighter on the planet or his career stops tomorrow. I don't want to be. That's his career. Let him do what he wants to do. He tried to fucking embarrass me. I wasn't happy about that. If that would have been off camera, then I would have told him to go fuck himself or the savage or whatever. That's what would have happened in reality. And then I would have battered him, and he would have battered me. Listen, I'm not. That's what happens. I've had fights in the street, so all these people saying I'll fucking knock you out. Well, we'll see what happens because. When you've grown up having fights all your fucking life, like some of you might have, there's no fucking certainty in any fight. So you don't say I'll fucking knock you out. You just go, come on then, and then hope you win. That's what happens in the end.
Brian tried that with Coogan a couple of years ago, but it didn't end too well for him.
Oh, fucking Coogan can't fight. He's massive. He's a fucking giant, isn't he?
He worked security, I thought, back in the day.
Listen, motherfuckers, I went down to Liverpool myself, and who did I meet as soon as I walked into the hotel? Barry Jones.
Yes.
And who did I meet? The first time I met you was in Belfast. That was a fucking belter a weekend.
Yeah, those Frampton weekends were just brilliant.
Aye, they're magic. And the other time was, I was just fucking, it was only Las Vegas, wasn't it? It was just Las Vegas. Yeah.
In the Paris, wasn't it? My missus and all that, wasn't it?
I didn't particularly like you bringing her. I was fucking raging.
Brian, you got a title holder there, mate. No, I'm only joking.
Oh, Brian, blushing.
You fucking have no.
I know. Right, we've got about 10 minutes left, so we're going to kind of fucking. We're just going to skim through series. Right, we've got Joe Calzaghe. Right, his resume wasn't the best, right? But I block people that try to troll me about Joe Calzaghe. There's only a few people. There's like Ricky Hatton, Ricky Burns, Joe Calzaghe, and if people start giving me shit about fucking Cristiano Ronaldo, I'll just block them. How do you think he would? I personally think he would have fucking absolutely schooled Froch.
Yeah, I think he had too much for Froch. I do. Listen, Froch has been tremendously tough, but I think Joe, even with his bad hands in the last like 3-4 years of his career, I think he was just, his energy was being too much for Cal. He wouldn't have stood his ground with Cal. He wouldn't have tried to fight with Cal. And I don't think Froch's feet are fast enough to catch up with Joe. I think he would have made a hard fight for Joe, and I think he might have maybe caught Joe flush a few times, and maybe and not had him in trouble as such, but had him aware he was fucking fighting somebody. But see, Joe didn't have the best boxing IQ, and I say this, he did against Kessler. Another Lacey fight. The Lacey fight was he just went through his repertoire of skills. That's what he did, Joe. Joe was just a guy who was naturally talented and just went through his full repertoire of skills every time, and it worked for him. And the one time, the reason I say that is because when he boxed Robin Reed, I thought he won, but it was a very close fight, a very, very close fight. He kept getting caught with the same punch because he was doing the same combination. And that's when I realised he just don't know this kid's a maverick. He don't know what he's doing. He's just doing it, Joe. He just turns up and does it. He trains hard, but I don't think they ever had a real plan of what they did. I used to be not quite close to Joe for his fights. I used to sit him down and say, listen, you could stop every fight in 8 rounds. You could, if you just took your time and used your speed first. But what he tried to do, he tried to knock everyone out early and then get involved in in some untidy fights early in his career.
But he did carry a bit of power. Let's see, up to the Eubank fight, did they not knock everybody out at that point?
Speed and accuracy. He didn't see it, and Joe could punch his weight. A lot of his early knockouts, he would just fluster them. He'd throw so many punches, they just look for the floor. But he could punch. But you want to have a look if you ever see a picture of Joe now recently, have a look at his left hand.
He's massive. Have you seen pictures of him lately? He's absolutely fucking ripped to fuck. He's got. He looks more healthy now than he did when he was a boxer.
I think, yeah, but I think it's ever since he had that. He went to Vegas, didn't he? And he had that mad weekend with that. What's that American boxer? He didn't win a world title. He boxed for the world title. Yusuf.
Mac.
Yeah.
Dog pound.
And he's never been the same since.
Fucking right, yeah.
Filming it, luckily.
He waddles around since. He can't walk straight anymore.
He was ripped the fuck after that weekend. I'll tell you that.
How think you would have fared against Andre Ward?
It's a tough one there.
It is a tough one. I think maybe
Be a horrible fight.
It would. Oh yeah, what a stinker that would be. I just think maybe I'm too patriotic. I'm too close. I think, but I just think the tenacity of Joe might be enough, to be honest. But I think it's a scrappy fight.
I think it would be similar to the Hopkins
fight. Yeah. Listen, he won the Hopkins fight. I don't even have it like any other way.
I refuse to allow him to talk to me. See, when they start that shite, I'm like, no, leave me alone. I'm not having this conversation.
It was close but clear. I can't see how Hopkins won 7.
Maybe a Floyd Dana where it was a close fight, but everybody knew he won it in fucking at least 7 rounds.
I thought he went. People forget he was blown up his ass, Hopkins, and looking for a way out. But Hopkins is so clever because he just, and a lot of boxers try to do it now. You just keep saying the same fucking thing. People will believe you at the end of the day. Just keep saying it.
Well, that's a solid win looking back as well, isn't it? Because at the time everyone was shitting on Joe because he was fighting Hopkins when he was old. But what Hopkins has done since,
what he did,
solid win, isn't it?
What Hopkins did his next fight against fucking Kelly Pavlik.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, Joe should have boxed Pavlik rather than Roy Jones. His next fight, I think. Rather than before Hopkins got to him, if Joe would have boxed Kelly Pavlik, he would have got more money for boxing Pavlik, believe it or not. And he would have got more recognition for beating, because Pavlik then was looking like he was like the fucking danger man, wasn't he?
Oh, absolute monster, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Joe would have fucking played with him.
And they ruined him as well. Then he'd have been now blamed for Pavlik going to jail for about 10 years.
It's mad, isn't it?
Did you ever speak to Joe at the time, like when he wasn't travelling or fighting the top guys, and ask him why he wouldn't? Or was it just he wasn't that bothered? Warren had just get him what he could fight, and that was it.
Yeah, it was. That's what it was like back then. You just, who do I fight? And he was asking for fights. Listen, he just done what he was told, and then obviously a lot of it was doing money. You know, why should I fight him for not getting that sort of money? And then obviously some fights fell through because I would imagine, I don't know this for sure, that Frank wanted options on the guy. So some guys, like I said earlier on, some guys not going to travel.
It's very not like it didn't want fucking no part of that fight. That was a fight that loads of people wanted, and they couldn't never ever fucking accept it. I'm pretty sure that Joe was about to go to Germany and he still wouldn't take it.
Well, he went to Germany, didn't he? Joe went to Germany to box
twice.
What's his name? Fucking Mario Veit.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, got big money for that. Got really big money for that. I tell you, Joe did.
What about resume versus resume then? Froch versus Calzaghe. Who do you go with?
Froch.
Oh, Barry. It's been going so well up until now.
I think the Hopkins win alone is better than anything Froch has done.
I think, listen, Joe's wins are better than Froch.
Oh, that is what I come back with. Like, he beat a prime Kessler.
Yeah.
Oh, listen.
Yeah.
I say the fight against Lacey, right? The fight against Lacey was, I couldn't do that shadow boxing for 12 rounds. It was phenomenal. But the Kessler fight for me was his standout win because Kessler did everything right. I almost felt sorry for Kessler because he had the right the right style, he had the right tactics to beat Joe, and Joe was just fucking better.
I mean, Joe wasn't even young back then. Was he about 35 or something at that point?
Oh, he was fucking brilliant, and I really, honest to God, I'm so proud of him. He was brilliant. Joe's wins are better than Froch's wins, but the fight after fight after fight that Froch has had, takes him beating. See,
that's the thing as well, though. Like, people forget the Robin Reed one, though. They kind of fucking gloss over that. Robin, see when Joe fought him, Reed was legit. He got robbed a couple of times as well.
He got raped against Oscar, didn't he? Literally just, it's fucking disgusting. And he lost his title, and I won my title, Reed against Malinga, but that's because Malinga was a better fighter than what people give him credit for.
Did you see Robin Reed when he was at that Boxnation show a few weeks back?
Yeah.
He looked like he was having a good time, didn't he?
Oh, that one. Oh, sorry, we hadn't done in the studio doing Boxing Matters, but I did see.
He was out his fucking balls.
Yeah. It could be, nervous tics or something.
Right.
I couldn't really concentrate because I was off my tits on ecstasy at the time. I'm only joking. I don't say ecstasy. I take that ketamine.
Nothing better than a K-hole.
Only when I'm working with Bunty, though.
He looks as if he's permanently on ketamine.
Steve, what's going on with Steve Lillis? Is he ill, or is he just like from The Walking Dead now? He's lost a lot of weight, hasn't he?
Who Schindler's List?
To your next big fight pod, you.
You get him on. You get him. Listen, he just all of a sudden, Steve, he said a massive I want to get fit thing. Guy's never really done any exercises himself, and now he's fanatical about it. But let me tell you about Steve Lillis. He is the straightest guy you ever meet. He's no bullshit. I'm an okay fella, but I know.
We all said that about Yusuf, man. Look like that turned out.
No, I mean seriously though, he don't fucking He won't have you if you're a fucking an idiot or bullshit. He won't have you. You won't like Steve, like Bunty would just say whatever you want to hear to keep you happy. I'm a little bit like, don't want to upset the apple cart too much, like that sort of thing. He's not like he is on telly. He's fucking straight, he is, Steve. He's a nice fella, he is. He'll do anything for you, Steve Lillis. I'm telling you. He's a proper bloke, Steve Lillis. I'm telling you.
I think it's a really good balance when you're sort of in the studio together, the three of you, because you all sort of bring a slightly different history and a slightly different perspective on the sport. And it works.
Yeah, I've done it, and they haven't. Yeah.
He seems
He's almost had a fight with Hopkins.
I've boxed, so I know more than anyone.
Lillis seems alright, but he's a royalist, so I can never really take to him. I'm not doing that. Lillis. he loves his queen. Right, finally, we're just going to kind of wrap this up. Like, we seen your pound for pound list earlier on, and I don't know why I fucking go hard on it and Twitter and all that, but I couldn't disagree anymore than what it is. So you've got like Gonzalez number 1, Kovalev 2, Manny 3, Ward 4, Golovkin 5.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll tell you something. I've had to put Ward in because he's boxing on Saturday.
Is that why he's in there?
Well,
did you get told to put him in?
No, I don't get told anything. But like you said, listen, it'd be nice if Ward was in there because. So listen, with Ward, ideally, with Ward being inactive, he don't make it. Obviously, I think with Pacquiao. Let me say about Pacquiao. I think he's on the slide because on the Boxing Hour, I explained a bit more why I picked these boxers rather than just put it down. The reason Pacquiao, even though he's on the slide, and his resume still stands up to anyone's right now. And Bradley, who's one of the better fighters as well, who don't make the top 5, but he's not far off that list either. He's beat him quite convincingly as well recently. So, until he gets beat easily, you still got to keep him in there, haven't you? You still got to. I think Crawford's close. And I'm not about saying who's my favourite fighter. I just think who you'd have to put. I don't know who does pound for pound lists in the world, and I think Golovkin, who's awesome. When you look at the fighters he's boxed, who have been good fighters, you name me a better fighter on Golovkin's record than it's on Pacquiao's record, or Ward's record, or Kovalev's record.
See, we talked about this before you come on. I've actually got Canelo ahead of Golovkin, just basically the fact that he's got better wins than Golovkin, although I know that Golovkin would absolutely kill him.
Yeah, okay, and that's what makes it quite subjective, because I could argue why fucking Alvarez should be number 1. In many, if you wanted to, it wouldn't. It'd be a shit argument, but I could argue that, and Crawford should be up there in the top 5 because he's going to be. Danny Garcia should be there because he's beat Matisse and he's beat Peterson. He's had some good wins.
I've got Danny Garcia in my top 10, mainly because I've got him losing 2 fights, but on record he's not lost them, so I can't fucking just make.
That's the point I was making. This is the point I was making, is that with Canelo and Garcia, that you can say that they've got these wins on there, but their biggest wins are very dubious. You can say that Canelo lost to both Lara and Trout. You can say Danny Garcia lost to Peterson and Herrera, and
he lost to Herrera. Fucking hell, didn't he? Just
exactly, and surely you have to consider these very contentious wins when you're doing your pound for pound list. You can't really say, "Oh, that's definitely a win. He's up there." You've got to say, "Well, actually, he struggled really bad here."
I think it's hard to pick because you pick current form, past form, and future. So with Pacquiao, his future is very limited, isn't it? Where does he go? He's on the slide now. Mayweather played with him. I thought, to be honest. So. What happens? Is that a sign that he's fucking on his way out? Which he probably is. But can he still beat the other good fighters at his weight? He probably still could. And
I think Manny beats him Bradley next month, and personally, I think that's a better win than Emdid it's still fighting right now. I mean, I've still got Floyd as number 1, mainly because I refuse to believe that he's retired yet. So until he's not fought a year, I'm leaving him there. I don't give a fuck. I'm fucking Floyd, and that's all about it. And I've still got Manny too, because I just think that losing to Floyd isn't that bad because everybody does it.
I just, like I said, I think when you put in the factors about where what their potential future and current form and who they box in the past. I think add all those together makes it subjective. It's only your fucking opinion, but I think if you asked a lot of journalists, I think they would have Gonzalez at
It's
the
got
top.
to be Gonzalez.
The problem is he's beaten some good fighters, but he's so low in weights. Someone put on Twitter, how can you put Gonzalez number 1 when he's on the undercard of Golovkin? Well, what does that fucking mean? What does that mean? I don't.
Exactly, that's the issue. It's just because the people don't know them, they're not any less fighters.
Golovkin's a bigger star, but does pound for pound list mean how much your pay-per-view sales? I don't fucking know, because then Alvarez is the number 1 fighter right now. Cotto is fucking number 2 then, or number 1. Cotto's number 1. Alvarez is number 2.
Well, Pacquiao as well, exactly. He's number 1.
Oh, fucking Pacquiao, yeah, Pacquiao's number 1 by a million miles, isn't he? So I don't understand that, but yeah. That was my top 5. Fuck you, you got a problem. Brian, what's the problem, Brian? You've changed now, Brian. Where's the Barry Jones t-shirt?
If I'm wearing my SpongeBob one now.
If that was me.
If I had my way, I would have fucking Crawford number 1 because he beat Ricky Burns, and let's all fucking understand here that Ricky Burns is the fucking king of kings.
Let me tell you about Ricky Burns. Do you know what made him such a good fighter when he's world champion? That jerky style with his feet. I'm fucking telling you now. All the skills, he's great. I love Ricky Burns. That energy he had with his footwork, in and out, in and out, in and out. I mean, all these fighters all these sort of American style fighters, all the fighters who want to set themselves to throw punches, didn't know when to throw. And because he's so big for the weight when he's a super feather, they struggled. Now, he's gone flat-footed of late, Ricky Burns. And he's a good fighter, and he's tough as fuck, and he'll compete against anyone. But if you don't get that bounce back in his style, I think he's still got life left in his career. I do, but if you don't, you got to get that little bounce back in his footwork again.
Ricky's winning next month, and then I'm going to Vegas with him to fuck up Broner and take that fucking soul.
Final question then: Would
actually Theophane maybe?
Oh, fuck Theophane.
Would Ricky Burns have beat Broner at 135?
Oh, you cheeky bastard!
Then we'll end on that one.
Oh.
Let me get my picture on for this. I honestly think that at 135, I think Broner was a beast. I really do.
So is Adam Johnson.
But I also think that.
They froze?
Because everyone's scratching my head, you fool. I think it's a hard fight. I think I got a feeling that maybe.
He wouldn't have stopped him. I know that. I don't think so.
I got a feeling that maybe Burns outworks him for most of it, and then Broner catches him later.
That feels as if you've just fucking stabbed my mother right in the face, right in front of me.
With a body shot.
Oh, what a way to end.
But I don't know. But I can see Burns outworking him, like just the energy with his footwork, the straight punching combinations, the moving, and Broner trying to be flash and then I think Broner then, who can fight going forward, and it was a bit more nasty as a super feather, just starts getting himself into the fight, and I think a wicked body shot might maybe fold Burns in half. But then when has Burns ever folded? You know, it's one of those, isn't it? What can I say? Bri, kind of surprised. You got to say what you think, haven't you, Bri? You know what I mean?
Right, well, Shep, you want to wrap this up then?
Hey, one last.
Sorry, yes, go on, Sam.
One last quick thing. Do you want to say who you think wins the fights on the weekend then?
What fights?
Eubank Blackwell. Who wins?
Eubank.
Ward Barrera.
Ward.
There's no other fights, is there?
There's no difference, is there?
Huey Fury.
Do you think he'll stop Dominic Gwynn or?
No, I don't. No,
Of course you won't, for fuck's sake.
No, I don't.
Paul Smith.
We just announced Huey Fury. We've signed Huey Fury. I know he's on Channel 5 his next fight. Timing's everything.
Absolutely. Barry, thank you very much for giving up your time. It's been...
No worries, boys. It was only 20 minutes, wasn't
Tell the missus I was asking for her. I don't.
it? What's that?
Tell the missus I was asking for her.
What's that supposed to mean?
Line is crossed, I think.
She often asks about you, Bri.
That was a great night.
Do you want to come back in the DM chat? We had fun for them couple of days he was in.
Listen, take care, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Barry.
man.
Barry, cheers.
Bye.
You enjoy that?